Hey everybody, welcome back to Living Traditions Homestead. It is an exciting day. The very first day that we are going to be planting some plants in our new raised bed garden.
When we did the video showing how to do the irrigation for raised bed gardens, we talked about the very first things that we're going to be planting in these raised beds and that it would be coming up here very shortly, and today is the day.
We had to wait till kind of evening time because you guys, it is April 14th right now and the high today was 92 degrees. This isn't typical for this part of Missouri, but this is what we're dealing with right now.
The sun is starting to go down. It's a little bit cooler. It's still pretty windy, as you guys can probably see, which seems to be the norm around here in the spring. But today we are going to be working on planting 4 things. I'm really excited to start a strawberry patch within these raised bed gardens. We're going to be using 3 of the raised bed gardens for strawberries. We'll be planting asparagus for the first time here on this homestead property. We're also going to be planting onions, and then Kevin has something he wants to try this year for the very first time.
That's right. For the last few years, I've been wanting to try to learn how to make prepared mustard, like stone ground mustard. And so this year I am planting a variety of mustard that we will let go to seed. We'll harvest the seed, and then I'm going to try to learn how to make prepared mustard. So I'm going to get those planted today as well.
So that part is an experiment, and we hope that it is going to be something we can do year after year because Kevin really enjoys mustard.
Now it's still way too early in our area to be planting all of our summer things out here, like, you know, our tomatoes and peppers and
zucchini
and cucumbers and all the things that we'll plant when we get closer to summertime. But these things that we're going to be planting right now, they are just fine this time of year.
So let's get started. I want to start with the strawberries. Now I have a bundle of 25 strawberry plants here. And the variety that I have chosen is Early Glow Strawberry June Bearer. Now, first of all, I love the plants from Stark Brothers. Our entire orchard is from Stark Brothers. Our grapes are from Stark Brothers. They're a fantastic company originating in Missouri, and they have a fantastic plant warranty. So I continue going back to Stark Brothers. The strawberries are from Stark Brothers today, so is the asparagus. So I have chosen the Early Glow strawberries for 2 reasons. The first reason is this is a very popular variety for like you-pick strawberry patches. And if it's good enough for a you-pick business, it is definitely good enough for me. They're very consistent in size and very consistent in flavor. Now I've also chosen it because it is a June-bearing variety versus an ever-bearing variety. The June-bearing varieties of strawberries basically produce one large crop, all at once. You harvest it, preserve it, and then you're done for the year. The ever-bearing strawberry plants will produce kind of smaller crops throughout the summer. So you're picking often, and you have smaller harvests to preserve. I honestly prefer June bearing because, you know, I am so busy all through the summer. I've got things coming in to harvest and preserve like all through the summer. And if something comes in all at once, I can just take care of that project at one time and just kind of be done until the next year. And that's really just my preference of how to work on projects. Just get the project done and then go about your business for the rest of the summer. And so those are the reasons why I chose this variety. Now, like I said, this comes in a bundle of 25. We are going to be planting 3 raised beds of strawberries. Now, these raised beds are from Vegega. They're 2 feet wide by 8 feet long. I'm going to be planting 8 berry plants in each one. It may not seem like a lot of plants at once, but this variety sends out lots of runners or baby strawberry plants, and I'm wanting them to be able to root into these raised beds as well, so that later on I can take them out and transplant them elsewhere. It's very common for strawberries to come in these little bundles. Once you unrubber band them, you can start pulling them apart. This is one strawberry plant here. And it has a very long root structure. If there's any dead foliage or anything, you want to cut those off before you plant them. They have a very long root structure, but I'm going to cut this back to about 4 to 5 inches from the plant crown. They don't need all of these roots. So I'm going to cut this back with my trimmer, and I'm going to be doing this for every plant as I plant them. These roots can just be composted. And to plant these, we are going to plant them only as deep as the crown is. So strawberries don't like to be planted too shallow with their roots up above the soil level, but they also don't like to be planted deep with their crown underneath the soil. So we're going to make a point to plant them right at the crown level here, and I'll be planting these every 12 inches so that we get 8 plants in this raised bed. Now to do this is very simple. I'm just going to plant them down the center of this raised bed here. I'm just going to use my hand to dig a hole here, put the bare root strawberry plant in there, and then backfill to that strawberry crown. If I end up planting it just a little bit too deep initially, I can just go ahead and just tug on this plant a little bit to bring it up just a tad to make sure that it is in the right level there. And then I'm just gonna press the soil around it. And really that's all there is to it. I'm gonna continue doing the same thing 7 more times down this bed, and then 2 more beds, and we're done with strawberries. You know, this is the first time in a really, really long time that we have planted in raised beds. I don't even really think we've had raised beds not this nice or this deep since we've even been homesteading in Missouri. It just reminds me how easy it is to work with the soil. We have 100% pure compost in here that is set in these raised beds for over winter. They're just fantastic, easy to dig in. I don't have to deal with rocks. I don't have to deal with hard clay soil. It really is just a joy to be able to dig with my hands and plant them with such ease. We're just so happy to be making this transition from growing in the ground primarily to all raised beds and containers. So the strawberries are all planted. I'm really happy with the quality of all of them. I was supposed to get 25, I actually got 26, and only one of them didn't look good enough for me to plant, and so it ended up working out perfectly. 25 were planted. I squeezed in 9 plants in this last bed rather than 8 because I just couldn't bring myself to throw a good strawberry plant away. So in the end, we will water all of these and get them really situated in this ground. But first, we're going to move on to the asparagus. Next up are the asparagus crowns. So this bunch from Stark's has 10 crowns in it. So we'll be doing 5 in each, and the spacing is going to work out perfectly. You should space them like 18 inches apart, and this will work out really well. So the variety that I've chosen isn't really a common variety. It's called Millennium, and that's not really something that you see advertised often. I chose this variety because it is not only good in really cold weather, but it's also really good in hot weather. Because we're planting in these raised beds and they're not like underground, they're going to get colder in the winter because they don't retain the heat, you know, from all around it in the earth. But they're also going to get hotter in the summer for the same reason, and because the sun is going to be on the sides of these raised beds. So I thought that this Millennium variety would be great because of that. Now these are 1-year-old crowns, so it's going to take us probably 3 years before we can harvest heavily in both of these beds. I'm not sure if you can see, but on these crowns, some of them are already starting to produce little asparagus spears. And so this year, we will probably not harvest any asparagus. We'll let the spears come up out of the ground and they'll just kind of turn bushy. Year 2, we might be able to harvest a couple spears here and there and then let the spears become kind of bushy for year 2. And on year 3, we can harvest pretty heavily, but we're always going to let some of the spears grow bushy just for the health of the crowns underneath the ground. So like I said, we're going to be doing 5 crowns, planting 5 crowns in this bed, and then 5 crowns in another bed. They come rubber banded in a bundle, just like this. And you can see when I pull them apart, this is one set of crowns and the roots and stuff. There's some white powdery stuff on here, and I think it's probably like a fungicide or something. I wouldn't worry about that. It's also something that we would do like dust potatoes in, a fungicide. We usually use sulfur as kind of a fungicide for our potatoes. It's what it looks like to me. And with asparagus crowns, there are 2 ways that you can plant this. You can spread all of these roots out into kind of like an open octopus, kind of like that. Dig down a large, big, wide hole, 5 inches down, and put it down kind of like an octopus like this. Or you can create a trench, just a single trench like this, and you can plant them just like this, just how they came actually in the package. Just all the roots together like that. That's how I'm going to be planting because it's so much easier for me. So these asparagus crowns, I'm going to move these sprinkler emitters. These need to be planted about 5 to 6 inches underneath the ground, and the spears will come straight up through the ground. I'm just going to be digging a trench that is probably 5 inches, hopefully, underneath the soil. The whole length of the raised bed. And then I'm going to lay out each crown just like that. Well, they'll end up being 5, so I need to equally space them. Just like that. Tuck them in there nicely. They look equally spaced, and then I'm just going to cover them up. Smooth that out. And then I'm just going to replace those sprinkler heads. I'm going to off-center them, off sides a little bit. And that's really all there is to it for asparagus. Now I have 5 more here, looking fantastic. I'm just going to go to that next raised bed and plant them the exact same way.
So the next thing that we're going to plant is the mustard. So we have our strawberries back here, our 2 beds of asparagus, mustard's going right here next to it. Now, the variety of mustard that we're going to be planting is an heirloom. It's called Southern Giant Curled Mustard. I did a lot of research over the winter about varieties of mustard. A lot of the mustard that is sold mostly so you can eat it for the greens. But this variety is supposed to be excellent for the seed so that you can actually make prepared mustard, and that's what I wanted. So we're going to be planting 2 rows of mustard in these beds, about 6 inches from the side and about every 12 inches. Now, mustard can be grown more in a cool weather setting if you want to eat it for the greens. It's in the same family as your broccolis and cauliflowers and all of that. But in our case, we want to plant it when it's a little warmer because we actually want this to bolt or go to seed. That's what we want to harvest, is the seed. So I'm going to plant this now, which if we were going to plant this for the greens, we're a little bit late in our area. But for seed, I think we're going to be right on. So again, we're going to plant this about every 12 inches. We're going to plant, I'm going to put a couple seeds in each hole just to make sure we have good germination. It says there's 500 seeds in this package, so I'm not going to run out of seeds. If we end up with too many plants coming up, I'll thin them out later on. The main thing is going to be over the next, week or two, we need to keep this really well watered. I'll make sure that we do that. We actually got a couple days of rain coming up, but we'll run the watering system tonight after we get everything planted as well. And these are tiny seeds, so I'm going to actually, I might put more than 2 seeds just kind of by accident. We're going to put these about a 1/2 inch under the soil. Now, if you guys have ever made your own prepared mustard, I'd love to hear some of your recipes, especially if you have something that's really a family favorite that's turned out really well. I want to try a lot of different varieties. I love kind of like spicy mustards and things like that, so let me know what's worked for you, and I'd love to give it a try. All right, that's it for the mustard. Last thing we have to do, which is good because we're losing daylight, is the onions. The variety that we're going to be planting today are called candy onions. This is a very popular variety in our area. We actually bought these from a local nursery, an Amish-run nursery here in our area. I think there's about 100 of them in this little bundle right here. We're going to be planting this raised bed and this raised bed. I think we can do 3 rows of them in each bed and about 1 onion every 4 inches apart. This variety, like I said, does really well in our area. They store really well, and we'll be able to chop a lot of them up, freeze them or freeze dry them, and keep them to be able to use all winter long. Again, the variety is called Candy. I'm going to split this little bunch in half. We're going to plant these. As you can see, they are just kind of a tiny little onion plant already. Sometimes you can buy just like bulbs of onions, but these are like a tiny little plant. We're going to plant these about 1 inch deep. We grab them about 1 inch from the end. We can just kind of shove that right into the ground like that, put a little dirt around it, and move on to the next one. They're super fast to plant. When we're done, we'll water them in really well, and we'll get all of these onions planted tonight.
you guys, the very first plants have been planted in our awesome raised bed gardens. We have been struggling so much over the last few years growing in the ground. We're so excited that we switched over to these raised bed gardens.
Now these raised beds are from a company called Vegega. We did a lot of research about what type of raised bed we wanted. These are supposed to have a 25-year lifespan, which is why we went with them, you guys. If you want to check them out, we'll have a link in the description. We also have a 10% off coupon for you guys to use. But you guys, we are so excited about gardening season this year. I think this is going to be the best garden we've had in a very long time.
Also, check out Stark Brothers. We've had amazing results with their plants and their trees for many, many years. Check them out. So we're losing daylight. We're going to end the video here. You guys, if you're enjoying videos like this, make sure that you hit the subscribe button. And remember, the best way you can help us here on the homestead is just to share our videos on your social media. Until next time, thank you so much for stopping by our homestead. Take care and God bless.
God bless.